Kristen here from the Denman Homestead, and today I am going to be moving forward with the Blackberry wine. We are going to be racking our wine, which is transferring from our primary to our secondary fermentation vessel, which is going to be the 1 gallon carboy. Now, after we were done making the initial batch, I went back and I had additional blackberries to use, so I made a secondary batch. So I've got 2 batches that I'm going to be racking today. And basically what that is we're going to be taking it and we're going to be siphoning off all of the liquids and leaving all of the solids. So all of that fruit and the dead yeast and everything that's spent is going to stay behind, and we're going to be transferring just the liquid. And it's going to stay in this container for about 3 weeks or more, 3 weeks minimum. And then we're going to bottle it and put it in bottles where we're going to try and attempt to carbonate it to make it sparkling. That's going to be the 3rd step. But right now we're on step 2, and we are going to transfer it where it's going to have its new home for the next couple weeks. Let's get started. Okay, so as we've stated before, everything has been sterilized. You saw me just a little bit ago shaking some water up in these jugs, and that was a sterile cleaning solution that's safe for winemaking. I also have my siphon and my tubing that we're soaking in the water, as well as all of this, all the funnels. I've got cheesecloth, my little colander that I'm going to be using as well. Everything is going to be completely sterile. I'm going to take off these airlocks. This one, check this out. I tried to use this gallon jug as my primary fermenter, and it looked like a murder scene. I put this in my shower in the barn, and thank God I did, because the top of this had bubbled so much it like sprayed it. It didn't pop off, which it can do if there's so much pressure, but it bubbled so much at the top that it sprayed out. So it's fine, because this is actually the liquid from in here getting in here, but it can't go back down. Once it's out, it's not going back in. So I do need to take this off and clean it really well as this one. We're going to re-sanitize this so that we can reuse them, because you're going to need airlocks for your carboys. So I'm going to open this one first. We're going to wait to open this one because you want the least amount of exposure as possible. You don't want to just have this open while we're talking and dust or whatever could fly in and contaminate it. So we are going to be working one at a time. The hope is, and I'm a little bit nervous about this one because there was some liquid loss. You really want it to be as close to a gallon as possible, like up on the neck. If there's a lot of airspace, then you've got more room for icky stuff, right? So we want to really try to fill this up, and you are going to have some liquid loss with the fruit absorbing and stuff like that being lost, but for the most part, you should have close to 1 gallon. So we're going to start with this one, and if I have any left over, I'm going to combine it with this one to hopefully make up for some of that lost liquid that's kind of sprayed out the top here. All right. Another thing to keep in mind, gravity is your friend that I've learned from Buddy Brewing, and when we made mead and all that. Gravity is your friend when working with a siphon. When you're taking one liquid out and putting it into another, going at a level horizontal workspace is hard. If you have one elevated, gravity really helps draw that down into your bucket. What we want to avoid, though, is, and I'm really glad that I did this one because it's clear. Try not to shake it up, because we really just want this liquid part. There's bottom sediment, and then there's top stuff. What we want is just this middle. So I'm going to try and aim for my siphon to rest just below the bottom so that I'm not sucking up all of this down here. A lot of this is going to be dead yeast and everything that kind of falls and dies at the bottom. So that's also why I'm going to be trying my best to not make a huge mess, and I'm going to have a funnel, a strainer, and a cheesecloth on top to try to catch any little tiny bits, because no one wants to chew on their wine. I don't know about you. I don't want to chew stuff when I'm drinking wine. I want it to be nice and clear. Now, you are sometimes going to have a little bit of sediment at the bottom of your wine bottle. That's okay. And that happens commercially. Like when you get a commercial bottle, sometimes you still have a little bit of stuff on the bottom. Fine. But we want to try to avoid that as best we can. Okay, so what I have here, over here behind this bucket, is a stack of buckets. And I'm going to put this on top of that to hopefully help get my liquid in here easier. Okay, so let's lift this up here. I can already smell it. And one thing I do not want to forget is I want to take another Brix reading. I want to take a reading with our refractometer to make sure that we're keeping track of the alcohol content. And like Buddy told me before, you can take as many readings as you want. And I'm just taking my little dropper here. I'm giving it a few squirts in the cleaning solution. So whatever I put in my wine, I want to make sure that it's perfectly clean. I'm going to set it on this clean paper towel here. Okay, so let's open this guy up. This is strong. Strong smelling. I'm going to get my piece of papers that I had everything else written down on. I just want to show you guys really quick what it looks like in here. And I can already tell I don't know if you can see this, but this is where the line is, right under the 1 gallon mark. So we are probably not going to have enough to share between the two, so we're just going to have to figure that out. And that's okay. I will say, this one had an initial Brix reading of 16.2. This one had an initial Brix reading of 18. So there was a little bit of a different sugar content. I left off half a cup of sugar for this one, and I added half a cup more of sugar in this one. So there's a higher sugar content in that one than there is here. So that's the difference there, and that will affect the Brix readings. Okay, so I want to go ahead and just dip this down in the middle somewhere, get a sample, and then we're going to put this sample on the slide right here, a couple drops, and then we will close it and look in the light. All right, this one is 5.5 Brix, not quite 6. The initial read was 16.2 Brix. Now we're at 5.5 Brix. What does that mean? Not entirely sure, because there's math involved, and we will get to that in a little bit. But I'm going to clean this off so I can get this accurate reading for the next one here in a little bit. And now we're going to siphon this into here, which is difficult to do by yourself. It's even difficult to do with 2 people. Buddy, for his beer brewing stuff, has a really cool contraption that will pump and suck the solution into the hose. I do not have that, so I'm going to be using my mouth on the end of this to start the flow of the wine to start flowing through this tube. Okay. And we may not have, let's see if we don't have enough gravity here. So I'm gonna have to go higher with it. All right, I think what I'm gonna have to do is I'm gonna have to go even lower with this. Let me get a chair or a bucket. Woo! Oh my gosh. Okay. It's coming. unfortunately, it's coming really, really fast. I think what might be helpful is if I now put it back up here. Maybe it'll slow down the speed at which it's coming out, because it's going too fast. I'm also catching a lot of berries. So I'm just letting this kind of do its thing for now. Nope, lost section. Dang. Trial and error, guys. Well, good news. Buddy just got home and he's going to get me a better siphon because the one I'm using isn't working. I mean, it's working, but we're struggling. And why work harder when you don't have to? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna get a different siphon and we're gonna make this process a little bit easier.
All right, I'm straining all of the pulp off of the wine. So I've got this bucket and that jug, and this is all the pulp in this big strainer, and there's the wine down there. And this is a brew bucket, so we can see if I can get the shadow right. We are just under 2 gallons. It's like right here. So I'm gonna let this strain the rest of that down.
All right, so day 2 of trying to move this wine over to our secondary, and I'm kind of glad that the first day failed because I'm doing something now that I'm not even telling Buddy about. He's gonna find out later on. But as I was because as you guys know, this is our first time to do blackberry wine. And I didn't do a whole lot of research on how to do blackberry wine because I just figured we know the basics of winemaking and brewing and literally the basics on how to do mead and that kind of stuff. You need yeast and citric acid and some sugar and the fruit, right? Each fruit has different sugar content. The sugar content is what gives you the alcohol. And so when you get into the science of it, when we do the Brix readings and all that kind of stuff, it's recommended with blackberry wine that I've researched from other people who do fruit wines frequently, that the starting Brix is around 18.5. Well, one of our batches started at 16 and one of them was at 18. So neither one of them was up there. And I've also found that oftentimes other brewers use a lot more sugar than I did. And using more sugar means that you may have a higher alcohol content. So I'm going to do something that is actually a thing that some brewers do, and it's called stepping, and they also have different terminology for it. Anyway, it's a technique where you can add sugar to the secondary, and it may not increase your alcohol by volume depending on where the fermentation process is. If it's stopped, if the yeast is completely dead and stopped fermenting, it may just sweeten your wine. Or it may increase it slightly and help your ABV out. So either way, I think it's going to be a win-win. I didn't completely measure. I just did I guess I did measure. I did about 1.25 cups of white sugar, and then I added just a little bit of juice from what Buddy strained off yesterday and a little bit of water. maybe like a half a cup of water and a quarter cup of the juices that were in the bottom of that. And as you can tell, it's a purplish color. So I'm gonna let this cool completely now that it's all dissolved. I did not bring it to a boil. I just dissolved the sugars in this solution. And then I'm gonna add it to my bucket and I'm gonna stir it around completely to incorporate it again. Then I'm gonna let that sit and settle because that was the whole point in the first place, to get that to settle. And to separate the sediment, right? So I'm gonna stir this back in, let it settle, and then we will rack it into our secondary. I just wanna mess around with it. I might should have left it alone, and technically I have 2 carboys, so I probably could do a trial with one the way it was and then add in sugar. Yeah, let's do that. We're gonna go on a wing and a prayer. So I'll rack one the way that it is, and then the other one I'll add in this extra sugar mix and see what happens. See if I like the flavor better, see if the ABV changes at all, if there's a big difference. I rechecked the bricks today after Buddy combined the two, and it was at a 6. So we're gonna do more math on that later, but I just want to document that it went from about 18 to 6. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do. So while this cools, I'm gonna rack one, fingers crossed I don't make a huge mess, and then we will add this sugar content to the remainder, let it settle, and then rack it. This off, and I see here Buddy put my my stoppers and my floats in a solution over here, water cleaner solution, and then my tubing, I've had it soaking in sanitizer. Okay. And I might use this bucket as, hopefully, to lift it up a little bit. Because as you know, we were having issues yesterday. See, the line is right here with the fluid, and it's got to go. This is really not even high enough. So I may struggle again. It's quite possible I'm going to struggle. So we'll see. All right. Well, it was trying. Let's try again. There. Got it. See if it'll keep it going. Nope. It's going, but it's at a slow pace, which I'm not. Oh no, don't want to get any air in that line. Shoot. Come on, keep going. All right. guess we're just gonna go faster. I'm probably just gonna fill this one up to the shoulders because I really want to make sure I have enough to get in that one too. It's a really pretty color. Okay, well, I lost my suction, which is fine because it's pretty much where I want it to be. All right, let's do the next one. And then we can stir in that sugar solution after the fact. I think that'll be the best bet. Ooh, this is gonna be a disaster. A disaster. I can already tell you that right now. I'm really trying to just get the clear stuff off. All right, I'm gonna have to do this part off camera because I do not want to waste this. You get the gist of it. So this one is a little bit thicker in color. Just looks a little bit more cloudy than this one because this one was the top, mostly the top juices. This one, as you get down in the bottom, you're gonna start to suck up some of that sediment. So this glass for sure is gonna have a pretty thick cake at the bottom of that spent fruit and yeast. But I am gonna add the extra sugars to this one. So I'll be interested to see if whatever I've sucked in here is going to continue to ferment, which we will see some bubbling and more fermentation going on. We may see more fermentation going on in this one too once we put the airlock on. This one we might see extra air, just extra, if it decides to continue to ferment with the new sugars added. So we'll see. It all depends on if the yeast was fully dead when we add in these sugars. It's all an experiment. So I'm going to go ahead and airlock this one, and it's not quite 1 gallon, neither is this one. So we probably ended up with 1.5 gallons if I had to guess total. But I'm fine with that. So let's airlock this one to make sure nothing yucky gets in it. We're going to take our airlock with a little bit of the sanitizer in it and a lid. And we're going to take a plug here. Get that on there nice and snug. Add our airlock. Okay, and then this will sit in a cool, dark space, which I'm gonna put both of them in my barn shower on the floor, just in case any accidental sprays or, God forbid, an explosion, which these should not explode. You really get to the explosion part whenever you start to add in your carbonation, and if it's over-carbonated, it could bust your bottles. These aren't carbonated. But like I showed you before, how the other fruit really tried to push out of that airlock, it can cause some spray. I don't anticipate that that will happen with these now, but the bathroom is mostly dark most of the time in a secluded area where nothing's going to mess with them. This one I'm going to wait a little bit to add in this until it comes to room temperature, until it cools off. I don't want to add in hot or scalding anything to my wine. I want it to be completely cooled. Same temperature that we're working with here. We want it to be similar. So I'll be back in a minute. Okay, so I took my digital thermometer and I just double checked, and we're reading about 74 degrees. Good enough for me. So I'm gonna take this and I'm gonna pour it as best I can. So far so good. Nice. Okay. give it just a little bit of a swirl to incorporate it. Okay, I'm going to take my airlock. This one's gonna need some, oh, I thought I had it, hold on. This one's gonna be hard to get in there. Might have to get a different airlock. This one is not wanting to fit. Yeah, we get a different airlock. Of course. Okay, I actually just traded it out with the other bottle because it fits this neck a lot better than that one. So stick this in here. This in here. Really good. All right. It keeps wanting to pop up. Y'all see that? Okay, I'm gonna get a different one and make sure that it's completely sealed. But I'm gonna put these aside and we're gonna wait several weeks and then we'll try it and then we'll bottle it. It's exciting. Thanks for hanging out with me today on this episode, which was a challenge, but it always is. And we will catch you on the next one. Bye, guys.
On the Denman Homestead, where the sun sets golden in the west, we live in harmony with nature, doing what we love best. From the garden to the kitchen, and the bees inside their hive. On the Denman Homestead, come along and plant, nourish, thrive.